I didn't even click it. I just clicked. It said R, so I clicked R.
Okay, you know what?
I didn't know that until I saw you hover over it.
We go.
Welcome back to the Alleged Podcast.
Hey.
This is the podcast where
Little brown girl in.
this is
We are racially diverse now.
we are.
Thanks, Obama.
Thanks, Obama. I just
Yeah.
watched one of those videos before,
Gotta
like
love
last
me
week
some Mitt
sometime.
Romney.
Mitt Romney should have been president.
Top 10 anime villains of all time.
Who?
Mitt Romney.
Oh yeah. What if he became president?
Top
Mitt?
10 anime victim.
Mitt. Yeah.
I don't know. They probably find some scandal.
You think
about
they
him
call
jerking
him
off
Mitt?
into his sock?
You think they call him Mitt? Like, hey Mitt,
I
President Mitt.
think Mitty.
Mitty,
What's going on, Mitty?
Matt.
Mitt Romney looks
What
like
if
the
they're
type of guy
like,
that
so
puts his
this
shoes
is
on before his pants.
this is a Matt? No, it's Mitt. Mitt. Name should be Matt.
His name literally is Mitt.
Mitt, like M-I-T-T.
Yeah.
See, I think I've discussed this on
Isn't
the
he Mormon?
podcast. It's just weird when you say somebody's
What a
just
strange
first
man.
name.
Babe,
Well, yeah, especially if they're like always referred to by first and last name.
No, we'll find out.
What?
this video shows a cop searching a person, right? Obviously a black guy.
Yeah.
And they find
And
a
the
corgi.
black guy is like, he just stuck his finger up my
I saw
ass.
that. You're like watching. I must have went through this whole Facebook video feed that you're watching because everyone that you've showed me so far, I've seen before.
Oh my
He's
God.
like searching him, and then like he's like, "Bro, why you violating me?"
Right.
And then he stops. He's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" And then he starts doing it again, and like you can clearly see he's still doing it, and they're all just standing there watching him do this.
Maybe, he likes to finger his guys.
Why not?
Yeah.
That'll
He's
definitely
like,
make
"Let me
that'll
do you."
definitely that will definitely get you to follow the law if you're worried
You
about
should
getting
just-
fingered in your ass.
Well, that's like I was gonna say you should just take it. Maybe they'll go easier on you because
No.
But that's like the argument where you brought up. You said like, well, maybe actresses should just suck a dick because maybe it'll get them the job.
Well, I didn't say it in that way. I said, I mean, if
My
it's an
boy Harvey.
option, if it's an option and they don't
Fuck
give a
Harvey.
shit, then fuck it.
Right.
But it doesn't justify what that fuckbag did.
No, it
at
never
all.
does.
No, it doesn't.
And I might be getting her to write a paper on that whole subject.
Herbie. Herbie
Well,
Weinstein.
not just
Is
he'd
it-
be
I
a
thought
part
his
of
name
it,
was
but
Harvey.
Yeah,
it would
Herbie.
be about like the whole
Herbie
like
Weinstein.
epidemic and that it's never gone away and it's been around since like at least the 50s.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
been
No,
a-
probably
yeah.
even earlier than that. Probably, like
probably,
the
yeah.
20s. or
Yeah.
You think the chick that did King Kong didn't suck some dick? Probably she sucked
Probably
some dick.
sucked some dick. Probably ate some chocolate.
You just
No,
gotta,
there probably wasn't black producers at that time. Probably not.
No.
no.
No. Yeah.
Or maybe the white producer liked seeing that and he brought in a black guy.
Oh, maybe.
Well, they had plenty
he
on
watched.
stage because they had the natives in that movie,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which were all very.
Weren't people though in like Indian face though? I thought
No, those
all
were
those
like,
people.
I'm pretty sure those were legit African American people.
What's the one where it's like the British Army and the French Army and they're like teaming up.
This is how we're dressing up our kids for the first Halloween.
That's cool.
Irrelevant. Back to the
They're-
subject.
They're like teaming up with Indians. That it's a book and then it's also a movie.
What is it? The
Wait,
Last
like
of the
real
Mohegans?
Indian-
Yeah. That was the fucking one that I was trying to
The Last
remember
of the
that day.
Mohegans?
But that movie, all those people are white. Like the people
Yeah,
who
I
play
think
the
so.
fucking Indians, they're all white people.
Well, the newer ones
I'm not
are
surprised.
not
Well,
like that.
Yeah, obviously,
The
but
old
Daniel
ones
Day
are.
Lewis still played the main fucking native, who was a good guy.
Yeah, but he's a good actor. Like, if you're a good actor, it shouldn't matter the race.
Still though,
But it's a double standard because then if it's a white actor getting replaced, then it's fine. But if it's a person of color, then it's not okay.
did you guys
Yeah.
ever watch
But he's a
Lincoln?
really great actor.
You ever watch Lincoln, the movie that
I've
he
not
was
seen
in?
Lincoln.
No,
It
but
was so fucking boring. I couldn't believe
Well,
it.
I mean, what
I
were
thought
you
it was-
expecting?
like was
It was so boring.
what part did he play?
He played Lincoln.
I thought
played
Matthew McConaughey did that.
No.
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 He must have been in
If
it.
Matthew
I think
McConaughey
Tommy Lee
played him,
Jones was in it. Wasn't Tommy Lee Jones in it?
I think so.
Wasn't
I don't
he?
know. It was so boring.
I mean, what were you expecting? It was a Spielberg film about Lincoln. He wasn't gonna fucking
But I
find.
wanted.
He
it
wasn't
to
gonna find One-Eyed
be-
Willie and his treasure.
I wanted to be at least like inspirational, but it was just so. It was a snooze fest. It was
Yeah.
so fucking boring.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to show you these videos.
Okay.
One is a video that CNN put out.
Okay.
Ooh, fake news.
One is a video made by the Daily Wire as a parody of this video.
Okay.
We can only hear this, right?
I think so, but I'm gonna try to put in the audio.
Well, here, do you want me to like when you hit play? Do you want me to like
No.
slap? No.
No, we'll
No.
figure it out.
Okay.
Okay, here it is.
No.
This is an apple. Some people might try to tell you that it's a banana. They might scream banana, banana, banana over and over and over again. They might put banana in all caps. You might even start to believe that this is a banana. But it's not. This is an apple.
Are you fucking serious?
Wait.
What the
Wait,
hell?
was
Are
that?
you fucking kidding
Hold
me?
on, calm down.
Oh.
What
the fuck?
was that? Is that from CNN? Right? That was not
Yeah.
a parody. That looked like a parody.
I know.
These people are autistic.
And this one kind of sums up maybe what it was trying. The parody kind of sums up maybe what they were trying to say.
They were trying to say they don't have fake news.
All right.
Let's look at that.
Well,
Look at that
yes.
look at that big ass gorilla though. I want to watch that video next.
Hold on. When
We will go back.
Okay.
when I was first watching that, this is the first time I've ever seen it. I was kind of surprised that this is a CNN ad because this totally goes against the whole trans thing.
Yes.
This
but
totally goes
Yes.
against that.
Stop yelling.
Watch.
I'm sorry.
watch the next one. This was made by somebody who works for the Daily Wire.
So wait, was that
a
was that a-
website that hosts a very right-wing conservative podcast?
Was that a trans video?
No,
then?
it was not. It was
Wait.
about just fake news.
I am so confused.
Watch.
I am too, and
Watch.
I wish he would shut up.
Watch. This is the next one.
Okay.
Okay.
This is a man. Some people might try to tell you it's a woman. They might scream woman, woman, woman over and over and over again. They might put woman in all caps. You might even start to believe that this is a woman. But it's not. This is a man.
I absolutely fucking love this.
Facts don't.
Uh-huh.
It says facts don't
absolutely
care about your
love that.
feelings at the
Wait,
end.
wait.
Oh, did you watch that video?
Wait,
I haven't watched that
wait,
film.
Dear
wait.
Black
that
people?
Why is,
I've not
why
watched
is he
that yet.
talking about black people?
No.
No,
That's
it's
the one I
a-
watched last night.
I wasn't paying attention last night. I was
No.
looking up hotels last
It's
Can
night.
I-
not.
do you want
it's
me to
not-
explain or you
It's not
got it?
bad.
Yeah,
It's
go
some
ahead.
stupid shit.
Go ahead.
No, he was basically there was
I
an author.
actually have a subject that
Oh.
relates.
Okay, well,
no,
then
go ahead.
let's-
Somebody wrote an article saying, "Dear white people, you're not oppressed and you have privilege, so shut up."
I read that. I
And
read
then
the
he
article.
was
I read the
basically
article.
saying like, "Hey, this is pretty fucked because this is exactly what white supremacists want you to do. They want you to seem like you're grouping up on us and just be as worse as us." And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
not, it's fucked.
You know what's funny? It's
absolutely
written. It's
fucked.
written by like a white Middle Eastern woman. That
Right.
article.
Really?
It's so weird.
Where is it from? Do we know where that article
I
is from?
forget. I know. I don't think it's a big. I think it's the Washington Post. Or the,
Dear white people.
No one
are
cares about.
typical.
I know it's trending right now.
Uh,
Metro. That's that one. Metro. See, look at the because her picture. Look.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, it is.
Metro.
It's a.
Like, what the fuck, dude?
You ain't even black.
Oh my
you
god!
ain't even
you can
mixed with black.
you can tell how fucking tight her pussy is. You can tell. You can tell. You can tell. Look at that. She's totally a feminist. She bends
Why
guys
do you
over.
think? Why do you think she's
Yeah.
only from the chin up? I mean,
Look
I don't know.
She's
at
got
that.
a really sharp
Yeah,
nose.
and the shirt
Oh,
that
I
she's
feel like
wearing
we
covers
shouldn't
her
be
neck,
saying
like,
that.
up
I feel like
there.
we shouldn't be saying that because like dissing a woman on her appearance from the neck down is like probably what she wants. But
No,
fuck it.
fuck her.
Yeah.
She's
her
not
much.
black. She
Okay.
better not be writing no dear white people if she ain't even nowhere near part black.
my
Okay.
God.
Okay.
This
Let me
okay.
call my boy. Let me
Okay.
call my boy Mike Smith up.
Hold on.
And publish an article to
Before-
refute that bitch.
Alright.
Before we go to that one, let's talk about the videos.
Yeah, I
Okay,
gotta
so
say,
explain,
I love this.
explain the CNN ad
Okay,
because I was
so
confused.
It's all about fake news.
Right, I got that.
The whole thing is they're just talking about like, oh, it's fucking blah blah blah. This
Right, they're
apple.
trying to call
people
an
call it
apple a banana.
But they're just saying, hey, this is CNN. We will not do this. We will give you the real facts.
Okay, so
But-
then why did the parody?
Well, the
That
whole
was
thing
just a version of
is
it.
that they're contradicting themselves because CNN is very liberal and they're in high support of the trans movement.
And they've been
So-
caught faking news before.
In that parody, they're going against the trans movement and are showing how CNN was a hypocrite.
Because
Oh, that
because
That's the whole
makes
point.
because by, even though they're using fruits, they're trying to say, well,
You
this
can't
is
change an
this
apple
is
into a banana.
right. This is a fact.
Yeah.
So they're trying to say facts first because that's what it says at the end of the video.
Yeah.
But like Zach said, they're all for the trans movement. So like, if you identify as a woman, CNN is like, everybody at CNN is like, for that type of thing. But their ad clearly shows that the fact of the matter is the apple cannot be identified as a banana.
Yeah. And when you say facts first, I mean, all these trans people are going against science. I
So
mean,
why do you think
Right.
they made the ad then if they knew people would eventually
Well, I
figure out
think-
that they're hypocrites?
I think partly
well,
one
they
part.
probably didn't think
Okay,
about it.
wait. Why are all y'all talking at once?
I don't
I
think
think
about it.
I think part of it was because at the end it said facts first. So I think part of it was trying to like say we're not fake news, we're going to point out the facts. And the other part, I think they were oblivious to what they were actually making.
Yeah.
Phil, you had your hand raised.
For a long time. I think it's just because CNN has their head up their ass. Like, remember with the whole thing this summer? Was it this summer, right? Where that person like made a meme about them, and they found where he lived, and they told him to take it down. Otherwise, we're gonna show your identity. They're
Right.
fucking tyrants.
Yeah.
They don't care. So they could sit there and they probably all sat there in their meeting room and said, "This is golden," and then they didn't realize it because they're so out of touch.
And
That's
then
my
they didn't
thing.
realize that people were so technology driven that somebody was going to make a man-woman one
Of
Yeah.
and
course,
make fun of them.
of course.
So, and then the man-woman one.
Why are there so many people hanging out here on a Friday? Like,
It's always
It's
a lot
it's
of...
always like this.
Always.
what are
It's
you people
always
doing here? It's
like
Friday.
this.
Go home.
It's
Why am
That's
I
what I
here?
tell people when they
Fuck
come
this.
here at work.
I thought the man-woman one was pretty funny.
Yeah,
Well,
Yeah, I thought that was funny.
I love this.
a little bit.
I absolutely love this.
Like, what do you think CNN thought when they saw this?
They probably
saw the
The man-woman one.
Oh,
Yeah.
they probably squatted down and just started screeching.
well, my whole thing is they probably fucking like fucking
ahead.
Deliverance.
Mind control tactics.
Wait,
What?
hold on.
We're not watching a 10-minute video on this.
Hold on.
No.
I want to say something first. I just wonder. I want to look up real quick to see if CNN had any
Has any-
response.
a statement.
Oh, this is real.
on-
Now, if they make a statement, that'll be beautiful. Because if they make an apology, that'll be the greatest fucking thing ever. Because then that's them admitting their defeat.
They didn't even
Yeah,
admit that
pretty
they
much.
fake news, though.
I highly doubt
No.
we're
I
gonna
don't see
find
anything.
anything.
No, I don't think so.
I don't see
Fuck.
anything.
I'll look later, and if I find
Do
something, I'll put
do
it
you
in
think
here.
though somebody got fired?
No.
No.
And
You
even
don't
if-
think so?
No. I think we
You
would have found
don't.
out.
Like not
I
even
don't
the
think
guy
we would
who
have
wrote
found
this
out, but I
bullshit,
think,
or not even
like
the
Phil
guy that
said,
allowed
CNN
this.
has their head up their ass, so
Yeah.
they're like, oh, he's still good. He still comes out with good shit. We'll just keep him.
Yeah, right. This is a 30-second ad.
That is probably the stupidest fucking thing I've ever seen.
It really is.
This is an apple. Some people might call this a banana.
Okay,
Those
wait,
fucking people
wait.
are
Time out. You wanna
retards. What the fuck?
I thought of statistics because when I was in AP Stats, one of the lessons she was trying to teach us, she was like, you got to group it apples to apples. Like oranges to...
Yeah,
so
no.
that's what I thought
Yeah,
of.
no mixing of the fruits.
No
That's
mixing
what
of the
I
fruits.
thought of, and I was
We
like,
can't
why
do that,
are we
yeah.
I mean,
mixing
you could
fruits
still
now?
relate that back to the transgender type
Yeah.
Yeah, you can.
identification thing.
If someone wants to call me me to call them a woman, I don't care. But like when it gets like really crazy, I'm like, stop.
I mean, hey, I've thought about going into a men's bathroom when the women's bathroom is totally too full. I've done it like twice too.
We did it at our old job all the time at gas stations.
At gas station,
All the time.
because on our lunch break, we wanted to waste no time. We wanted to eat, sit down. So if the women's one was open, we'd walk right in
Yeah.
there. No shame. Dirt, covered in dirt sometimes,
Oh my.
Yeah, it's
grass
always weird how nasty women's
dust.
bathroom are.
and dust.
It's like, ugh.
Yeah.
Vacuum
It
dust.
looked like we
in
just walked
particular.
through like a dust storm, like literally straight out of Mexico's desert.
Do you just remember what we
Ooh,
looked
and
like?
then if you think about it, when you use
Do you
the
remember
porta
what
potties,
we felt like?
And I was gonna say at the end of Thursday, what we looked like every single time.
Terrible. We
Just
looked like
covered
we just
in grass.
covered in grass, sweat, and dirt.
It was so disgusting.
Remember the dry times when we would go to like the
Dry
dry
times.
grass, like that one building with the trees and it was all
Yeah.
dirt around it, and we'd go
Yeah.
through it and it would just be a whole dust storm.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
dude,
it was terrible.
that time though when we had a drought with like most of July and we didn't have to like bag like anything. I think
Anything.
look, like I said, I don't think Rick's ever gonna listen to this shit. But there was moments where I would be in the first place that we were at, then go over and still not have it be full.
Yeah.
Like, it was that awesome.
My building was so big that once I was done. Well, I only had the one building on the one block. You had 3 because you probably still did. You probably still did.
Well, yours
more.
was way bigger though. You had a bigger plot. Of land
on the
that
one
you had to
side.
cover.
Yeah.
So it was, it was a trade-off.
Okay, question.
Yep.
What if they made porta potties like gendered?
Oh my God.
That'd be pretty fucked.
No.
That would be the end.
Well,
of
I
it.
don't think they would do that now.
Why would they do that though? Like what would be the point?
I don't want to go in a porta potty regardless of what gender it is. I
No,
fucking
Yeah.
can't
neither
stand
do
them.
I.
They're disgusting.
I know
It's
when we
horrible.
went to the
Shit.
pumpkin patch.
I'd rather
we
just
went,
someone just hand me a roll of toilet paper and just tell me to go in the woods. Like that's probably more sanitary than going in there.
Yeah.
Like it's just the shit is sitting there.
No, they'll be like
fermenting.
environmentalists will be like, we collected some leaves and we washed them. Use some leaves.
I could live with that too. I mean, my shit's good for the environment. You're gonna have some.
I
good
wipe my
tomatoes.
ass with baby wipes. I do. It feels better.
Okay.
That's actually not bad.
It's
if you
feels
not,
do it.
better.
but I don't know.
Actually,
For
it does.
me, like, I have to wipe it again.
It
with
feels-
tissue 'cause
it feels
so
clean.
wet.
Especially with the
Like-
ones that the big ones that leave a lot.
Well, hold on. Are you? I mean, you have hair in your crack, right?
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is getting more
Everybody
disgusting.
does.
No. But this is look,
This is a legitimate.
This is just truth. All right, so you got hair in the crack, right? So do I. Now I've done that, but I always have to do at least one more wipe with just a piece of toilet paper because I don't want it to feel wet.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Well, see, I kind of take the wetness or the moisture. I like it because it feels more
Oh
disinfectant.
my God, Phil, look at him.
If you're just wiping it with paper, it doesn't feel so
Oh
disinfectant.
well, he stopped dancing, but the kid was.
But
Totally
if you're, it's like cleaning
I
your
see 'em.
ass,
looking like
Yeah.
a twig.
without getting in the shower.
He keeps
Yeah.
doing that. He gonna break.
That's why I
ankle.
like it.
Oh,
It
no.
feels more clean,
But
and plus like
but doesn't your hair feel wet though?
not wet.
If you,
It feels cold, if anything.
When I've done that, it feels like I got out of the shower, but I just didn't dry my ass at all.
Yeah.
It just doesn't feel right.
no.
I guess this is the one time me and Zach are on the same boat.
Or have you ever shaved that? Shaved that away?
Not like inside. No.
No, you never did.
No.
Don't ever do it. Because one thing, it feels awesome when it's not there, but once the hair starts growing
Why
back,
does
one.
that video have so many dislikes?
I don't know. I want to see.
Go down to the comments. I want to see what they're saying. What the hell is going on?
Well, we could watch it.
I don't wanna watch it.
I'd pause
I'm
the
so
podcast.
confused.
Yeah, we'd
Which
have to
one is
pause
the
it.
Apple?
Do we watch it now
No,
or later?
No,
No.
forget it. No.
Okay.
Let's keep
Alright,
moving.
Well, then let's
wait,
keep
wait,
moving
no.
through
Go
them.
back down to the comments. I was reading them.
She was reading them.
Well, the one.
Wait. What if Apple identifies it? Yeah, see? Look at that. See, right away.
Yeah. Okay. So
right away.
the video that we're previewing here. It was made by a guy named Matt Wayne.
What's next on the agenda?
CNN, Apple Video, proof of their mind control
Let's
tactics.
keep it going.
All right. So we were talking about the Dear Black People thing.
Yeah.
She's not even black. If she can tell me herself that she's got some part in her that's black and she's had to have a struggle, then I'll accept
This
it.
is from
Wait.
a black woman, so your opinion is irrelevant.
But wait. Why
Higher
does she?
powers and this shit.
Why does she have to be black though?
Well, because she's writing an article about black people. I mean, it's
No,
not just
but
about
that's-
black people,
that-
but it's about like a lot of people.
But just
No,
because
I don't know. Maybe it's because I feel like if you're gonna write a letter to white people, especially talking about issues of a black person, you should be a black.
It's not just
person
black
writing
people. It's
it.
like all minorities, but mainly the focus is on black people. And like she contradicts
know.
herself because she in the article she says something along the lines of like, if white people feel like they're not getting jobs over black people, that's something to celebrate. That means all the blood, sweat, and tears have paid off. And I sat there and I told my friends, I'm like, no, that's discrimination if they're getting the job because of their skin color.
yeah.
I mean, that goes back to that one time me and Tyler kind of got into an argument about him not wanting to hire because of color.
Wait. Whoa. That is very.
This is totally
that is
on
a-
his record.
that is a CNN like statement right there.
Okay.
Now, no, my argument.
He's calling fake news.
Listen, my argument was that I thought it was stupid and unnecessary and shouldn't be abided by that employers hire based on race.
And
All
my
right.
argument was
I didn't say I would hire Because I wouldn't hire somebody based on their skin color. That is
what I meant.
Okay, but the people listening don't have any background information.
I'm with him on this.
So you're
but I was
racist.
saying no.
No,
it's not.
I want
My
somebody.
thing was,
Well, yes,
I was
but
saying
no.
a lot of these minorities don't have the chance that a typical white person does to get that schooling, to get that job.
Yeah, they do. They have scholarships for them.
How many black people actually get those scholarships, though?
Well, they're only for black people, so I
But
can't get them.
My argument.
I
and
can't get them.
What?
This is a very dickish argument for that, but my argument to her was, I can't do anything about that.
Which is
because
true.
here's the thing.
And
But
even if
also
I
think,
did,
like, if you do
even
add the diversity, it just brings new ideas to the table.
No,
I
I think it
get
does
it.
too.
I
but
get
here's
it.
an issue with it. There's something I think in South Africa they have like a program like that. They have to hire a certain amount of black people, and these people are not qualified for the job because education hasn't caught up there because they just ended their apartheid 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So they're not caught up yet, and it's created this massive divide in the economy, still broken because of it, because you have people that aren't ready for the job getting the job, and then also it's dividing the country because it's like
That's
he's
also
getting
why.
because people born afterwards, like 20 years, like, well, this guy's getting it because he's black and I'm not, and this is bullshit.
And
so
it's
I
like
hate this,
That's kind of the thing with the football
so it's dividing
players.
people
We're-
even more.
We're hiring, me and Humna talked about this on the sports podcast.
Oh my God.
And she was like, football players shouldn't be hired and paid millions and millions of dollars by a broadcasting network just because they played football and being paid more than a guy who went to school to be a broadcaster and do this for a living.
Right.
Because that's what happens. Football players are hired right out of retirement to do broadcasting and analysis for networks, and they're being paid millions more than the guy who went to school to do this job. And that's
my
like
thing is,
that's
I
like
can
that's like what
understand
you were
why they would
saying.
get paid more, but that expertise shouldn't be so many zeros in a difference.
That's like what
I mean,
Phil was saying.
It's
that
not just the zeros though; it's also the name value. Like, if
Well,
they
That's
get-
what
Yeah.
he was
It's the
telling
name
me. I'm
value,
like, I
yeah.
don't give. Okay,
That's
so
what I
I
was
can.
saying.
It's all-
Then, if that's the case, any person can go and change their name if they really give a shit about the name.
No, they
But-
can't. It's the name
What?
value of the player. Like, if a famous football player played and then they're a broadcaster, people are going to watch what they want to say because they have knowledge of the game. Like, if Tom Brady
Yeah.
retires and becomes a sportscaster, they're going to go listen to him because he's a big name.
And you know
because he
how
knows what
much
he's
money
talking
he would
about.
get paid if he went
Oh
into
my
that
God.
business?
You know how many fighters are on Fox, like UFC on Fox, that like are retired because they get hired because they know what they're talking about right off the bat? It's easier
Right.
to take a fighter that did it for years and was in there and has experience in it rather than telling somebody that's never fought in their life, okay, try to explain this to people.
No,
It's
no,
so
no,
much
no.
easier.
I totally understand that. I do respect that.
Yeah.
These people have been playing this game. They've already made
Oh,
a
yeah.
whole bunch of money. My thing is, when they retire, they shouldn't still be making that much money just to talk. True, they can have the expertise and they should get paid more, but it shouldn't be that much more from the person that's gone to school and done all of
It
this.
is though. It's because of the name value. That's the thing.
I know that's
the
what he
only
explained to
reason.
me, and I'm like, it's mind blowing and it's stupid.
It's the name value.
But
Like,
my
if-
point-
if you know.
My point of bringing that up is what Phil was going off of. People are being hired based on race, even if they're not ready for the job. And in equity of this analogy, the guy being hired based on race would be the football player being hired by the network who didn't go to school but he played the game. They're not ready. They might not. They don't know this job. They go into this job like, I'm just gonna talk. Like literally, they're paid to talk.
Those are
Yeah.
two different things. So
I know.
And
It's
it's-
not the same, but I'm just saying people are being hired based on race, even if they're not ready. When
Yeah.
there's a guy who might happen to be white, and he's gone to school and he has degrees on this subject,
Yeah.
but he's not being hired because he's white.
Here's another
And
argument
there's
for that
and
too.
they need to hire. They need to have diversity.
There's an argument I've heard, and I don't know if I've heard this from a person of color yet, but it's also if you get hired because you're a little bit less well, but you get hired because of your skin color, isn't that sort of disrespectful to you? Like if
Little
someone
bit.
says,
Yeah, but they're
"You're
not going
as
to tell
tall-"
you that.
If you're not, but you
Yeah,
know
you
that the
can
person
definitely-
You
ahead
can
of
feel-
wasn't-
you
Come
can
on,
feel-
no. When we went to that
Now, of course,
toy shop,
it's easy to sit there and say that because it's money's making money. It's a dog eat dog world. You got to take what you can get.
Yeah.
But when you feel a little bit like, what the fuck? Why did I
Well,
get
it's
this
a
job?
pi-
I just
it's
got
a
right,
some
but
pity
no,
thing.
think about
Yeah.
when we went to the mall that one day and we were in that toy shop and those people were interviewing those girls, and then as soon as they left, they were totally judging them.
Oh yeah, we went to a toy store that's inside the mall around here, and they were like doing it was a very informal interview.
It was.
They were standing behind the cash register counter, and the two interviewees were just standing on the other side talking to the two managers. And as soon as both of them left, we could totally hear them just like the one guy was going hardcore. He was like judging everything about these two girls.
He's like, she's not going to have a good motivation. I don't think we're going to need her, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, wow, it makes me think, whenever we get hired, do they really just sit there right afterwards and talk shit about us?
Right.
Probably.
But
I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know.
Probably.
If I was ever an employer, I think I'm not gonna hire it based on your race. Like,
so
I'm
if
gonna
we
hire
became
people
an
who
entrepreneur couple, and I wanted to hire at least a few people based on race, you wouldn't be happy with that.
I wouldn't let you do it right away. I'd want to look at what they have.
Well, it's not like I'm hired. It's not like you're just getting hired on the spot because yes, you're part African American.
Well, I get that, but at the same, like, I know what you're saying. I'm not just saying you're saying, hey, there's a black person
right,
out the street.
I know what you're saying,
but I'm gonna want to look at what they got, and
Right.
if they're just like right out of college, I might hire him as a lower level employer. I might give him another position rather than something else, like something. If we're hiring for like something that probably needs a little bit of experience, I might give him an opportunity somewhere else where he can build up and maybe get to that position eventually.
Okay,
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question?
What?
Okay. Let's just say you had to hire somebody to work with you, all right? Now, there's either a black guy or a black girl, doesn't matter what fucking, whatever gender, but that person is not as qualified as, say, this white guy or white girl who's qualified for a job. But let's say this person is somebody that you're going to be working with on a daily basis. Are you going to end up choosing the other one? Because you probably have more, it's probably going to be more, not comfortable, but just you'll probably be able to relate to that person more.
You're asking her specifically?
Because, yeah, specifically. Because, I think if you can get along better with someone, I think there's going to be almost more work production going on. Maybe, there will be some talking more, but still,
But it also depends where people come from. That's
because
like
depends on that.
I go to the MMA gym, and there's a bunch of like black guys there, and I get along with them great because all we do is talk about fights. And,
right, but that's what I was going to say. I think for
fun,
me, it would have to depend on their personality. Yes, I might decide also on their qualities, but let's say that black person, I feel like I have a better connection with them. They may be less qualified, but based on their personality, I think I can help them build.
Yeah, personality is also a thing.
See, that's what I was thinking about. It's
let's
all
say
about
based on
working with who you want to work with.
Let's say you have a person that's less qualified, but they're more charismatic and they're more open to it, whereas the person that's more qualified is just bland and boring.
Right.
You might
I would
hire
go
the
for the
you just
more
like because if you're hiring off a personality, like who's gonna like if it's like a job where you have to greet people maybe and like work with
think about
customer
Kohl's.
service.
How do you think they hired us?
I think, it depends on what time of the year it is. Seasonal, I don't think they really judge you as
Also, they only hired her because she's black, is what you're saying.
Well, I think the group that
Probably.
I was hired in a group, and we were all white, if I'm not mistaken.
Racist.
My first
If I'm not
interview
mistaken.
at our Kohl's, it was a group, and then the second interview was individual. And like I told you, when I
only
went to
had
that
one.
interview, it got to the point where it was really personal. She was asking me, kind of things that I like to do and all that. And that's why I said I think they hired me based on my character because they know I'm that kind of person where I'll talk to you, I'll help you out if you need help. And that's why I was saying, like yesterday with Maureen, she's that kind of person.
Right.
She just needs a filter.
Right, and I guarantee you during her interview they could tell, well, she's out there.
Right. But you see, I'm a person of color. I was really less qualified because this was my first
Now,
job.
if I see somebody who's less qualified, and this just goes for any race, if I see someone who's less qualified, but I can tell they care and they want to do this and they want to learn, and like I think their personality and their like ethic can benefit the company. If they're less qualified, I can still hire them.
Personality's
that's
kind of
different.
what I'm
going at.
Yeah,
a lot of those black people.
Okay, two people talking.
Character matters.
I know that's what happens. No, okay. So my point is, like my mom, she moved from the south side of Chicago up to the north side because she wanted it better for herself and for me. She struggled her hardest. She finally got her degree. She was working for a company. She was in an office. She wasn't qualified for that, but they saw that she had that kind of character and she was willing to build herself, and that's why she got promoted from like a regular person to like a manager and all of that. So the character does happen, and you see a lot of times when black people come out of those poor communities and try to build for themselves, they put their character out there because they know that that's really the only way they're going to get there.
But characters differ from looking at someone and saying, I'm only hiring you because of your color, your skin. It's like, it's the MLK code. It's the content of your character.
Right.
If your character's good, I'm going to hire you.
And the only background of qualification they look at is to see if they'll probably will look at to see if you have any like background in this field, like if you went to college, you have a degree. But they won't really look any further than that, like your job history or what else you've done or what kind of person you are. They'll be like, okay, they went to school for this. We need somebody for diversity. Yeah. So why not? Or
like if you're an African and you're a hard worker and stuff like that, and they look at your work schedule and they say, well, the white person or the Mexican person calls off a lot and takes a lot of vacations, like a lot of people at my job do. But the black guy never calls off, and he showed up to all his jobs. We want him because he'll be here more often, probably. If this person has a history of not showing up, calling off, taking a lot of vacations, we're probably going to keep this person around because they're going to work harder.
You think?
And they're nice and they're cheerful, and we want them around, rather than a person that's pissy and goes off on their own.
What you're saying is if let's say there's a white guy and a black guy.
We just fired a kid at work who was like a white rapper, and he was an absolute punk. And I would much rather have this black kid I talked to up front that's way nicer. I just hate that kid.
I mean,
Zach's face.
Your butter detector is going off. Okay.
Okay, so give me a general understanding of how either or all of you would hire for your own business.
I would just go solely. I honestly like if somebody wants to call out my business for diversity diversion, go for it. I'll prove based on my employees' backgrounds that I have not, and I've hired based solely on qualification because I would look at their qualifications, and I would hire based on whatever position I'm looking for. I'd hire based on qualification and quality of character. You know, if somebody has qualifications and it's kind of like, but their quality of character might be low, I'll go through scenarios to see, okay, so let's go through this scenario. Like, is there any cons or any backlash or any, like, shit that's going to bite me in the ass if I hire somebody who might not be able to work with people, but they can get this job done? It would all be a scenario based after that, after I look at qualifications and quality of character.
Okay.
But that's how I hire.
Yeah, it's the content of your character, not the color of your skin that you should hire off of.
But those are the two things.
But there's a difference between less qualified. There's a difference between hiring somebody who's less qualified but has better character than hiring somebody who's less qualified and is just, they're black.
Right.
That's not character. That's just the way you look. You can't change that.
Yeah.
That's a completely different thing.
So a question I want to ask you guys.
I didn't even answer the fucking question, Tyler.
He didn't.
She asked all three of us.
I did.
There's three of us?
The fuck?
You're white. You can answer any question you want whenever you want.
Does that make me black?
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, we're all fucking technically black,
I totally
right?
want to take one of those DNA tests.
Okay, go ahead, Zach.
Find out where I'm from.
You're like Japanese.
Well, I think I would totally go for like the education route, like how good is this person? But at the same time, like characteristics are probably like, really important in the workplace. Like that's why I asked her that question. Like I just like, that's probably going to end up being the good end game. Because I mean, say that person comes up in the ranks and then they're right beside you. I mean, you don't want a fucking dickbag next to you, you know? But I mean, like,
well, isn't it? Are you okay? But what? But aren't you the one who makes the decision on whether they get higher in the ranks?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if they're gonna work with you, it might as well be a person that you're at least you like being around. Like, I mean, what just happened at my work? We hired on some douchebag who worked at a bunch of restaurants before, and he was a fucking he works as a Coast Guard, but he ended up fucking quitting the job after 2 weeks after being a little bitch and not improving.
Thought he was coming in here.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Oh.
Why would he?
I don't know.
Fucking know.
I wish he would. I'm gonna go black on him and curse his ass out.
Right now, Butterball is.
Sounds like a very good content of the character.
Right now, Butterball is bitching out these fucking Arab chicks, and
Why?
there's I don't know. I mean, there was a chick here with her kid too, and she left, and
Yeah.
I don't know what the fucking deal is.
Now,
She's being a little
let
bitch.
me make one hypothetical
About this?
No, about white people being the most discriminated against in modern, like now.
Okay.
Is this something that you believe?
No, it's just something that I heard and I thought about, and like, you know, it was just kind of thrown out there. I'm being ball. Oh, you're being ballsy by eating right.
Right
Okay.
in front of her.
With her view. Okay, so what now with all these people, like with all cultures, like this girl, like this woman who wrote this Dear White People article, and people of the minority cultures coming out against white people because they think white people are privileged.
I don't have anything against white people.
Isn't that a form of discrimination against white people in
That they have
itself,
privilege?
shutting down white people?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like
100%.
if all these minorities gang up on white people, doesn't that make white people like highly discriminated against, even though they're all saying, shut up, you're never discriminated against? When
Yeah.
like this article is a whole like race discrimination against white people.
Well, Philip DeFranco said the same thing. I mean, it's like they're contradicting themselves.
Exactly. So
It's fucked.
like, but then their argument would be
She's going through shit right now.
with
Yeah, I know, just being a little fucking cunt.
then their argument would be, well, white people can't be discriminated against, so no, this isn't a racist. Like, to me, like, an article like this is racist towards white people
No, it is.
because they're calling out white people because for everything.
I don't know what's worse, to say someone is just a poor piece of shit or to say someone is privileged and never struggled before in life. I don't know what's worse.
But do you
Because I
think
feel
that
like being poor and like being that, like, you struggle, you work hard, you can build yourself up. But if you're privileged, it's like they tell you just sit up in your mountain.
See,
you
I
don't
don't,
know what it
Right.
is, you
when
know?
I think for
'Cause,
me,
like, I know-
I never think of privilege.
I know I've worked hard, and like a lot of white people work hard. A lot of white people just show up to work and get their shit done. That's just the European mentality. It's just show up and just work hard. You know, so it pisses people off when they go, "Well, you guys are privileged." Well, no, I had to work for this, and I've had to grind and work hard and work for college and stuff like that. Don't say it's because of my skin color, because I worked just as hard as you, if not harder.
Right.
See, I don't I totally still even now don't understand white privilege because I feel like even white people go through things to get where they get. They just have a little bit easier, but that doesn't mean that they didn't work
like,
just as hard.
I don't doubt that white people have it easier or
They
have
do.
had it easier.
But
like, I
I
don't-
still understand that they go through things.
I
in
don't
life
fight
just
against
like any
that.
other person. Like if you look at my family, everybody always comes to mom because they think that technically she's the most privileged. She's got a house, she's got 6 beautiful kids. We're all smart, she's doing well.
Damn, it sounds like she worked for her shit.
She did.
Yeah.
But that's what
It's
I'm
amazing.
saying. In our
Privilege my
family,
ass.
if you think about it, they all consider mom privileged when they all came from the same backgrounds. All of them were, sorry, mom, they were all touched inappropriately as they were kids. They've all had the
Yeah.
same background.
Yeah.
Mom had to get her GED when she was pregnant with the twins. So how is she privileged when
Yeah.
she struggled just
Yeah.
as much
Yeah.
as you? White people aren't privileged necessarily. You have it a little bit easier, but you guys work just as hard. You get to where you
I would say
wanna be
historically we have it
easier than
easier right
us.
now because I feel like most minorities are still working their way up to that level.
They are.
Because a
From,
lot of
like-
them are still very much in poverty and stuff like that. And I think we have to look at that rather than the race thing. We have to look at that to build them up because I feel like,
But with this new culture war that started, that has been gaining traction and has really taken off since last year,
probably more than last year. Probably
well, yeah,
in the last
probably last year it blew up though with Trump and all that.
like
though.
really blew
Oh,
up.
it blew up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure, like, I don't want to, like, this is not, like, what I believe fully yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, white people are the most discriminated against without, like, noticing.
Yeah.
It's one of those,
Yeah.
like, because, you can't, people think
There are
white
people out
people
there-
can't be
There
discriminated
are people
against.
out there that argue that because of slavery, white people still should be sorry for that, even though I didn't have anything to do with
well,
that.
Right,
yeah,
and
that's
we-
just a problem.
I don't hold nothing against a white person
Anybody-
for what happened back in the day before I was even born, before my great grandma was even
I don't even
born.
know my great great grandparents. I don't even
shit
know if they
is
owned
in the
slaves. If they did, that's
history.
not my problem. That's not my.
You
that's
know,
not
as
my
long as I
demon.
can sit in the same room with you now, get
was-
the same education.
What was it? It was Ben Affleck or whatever. Ben Affleck tried to hide the fact that he had a slave owner on his family tree.
Yeah, yeah.
And people were like, that's nothing to be ashamed of. That has nothing to do with you. You shouldn't be ashamed of that. You shouldn't go around saying, oh, yeah, we own people, but it's not. You can't help that. You can't help who's on your family tree.
Right,
And what
and
they did
I'm sure
hundreds of years before even your grandparents existed.
I'm sure a
You
lot
can't
of,
help that.
I'm sure a lot of white families in America have family members from their past that have possibly owned slaves.
It's a normal thing.
Just because you're Ben Affleck doesn't mean you're any different.
I mean, shit. My family's pure Irish, and I think we have roots going back to this city probably since the 20s. Probably, who knows? Maybe I had a family member who was in one of those Irish gangs that run around and beat up people. I don't know.
I mean,
You never know.
Your
You always-
grandpa's Hitler, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So this reminds
Yeah.
me. There was this one video I was watching, and it was this white supremacist who took a DNA test, to find like where you're from.
Oh, and he was black.
Yeah, and
Oh,
his
good for
face
him.
was just like, no, this is bullshit. This can't be true. And
He
I'm like,
yeah, I could totally see his reaction being like, no,
nobody
you gave me a,
nowadays is purely white or purely black.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I've got some Native American in me. I probably got some other shit in me that I don't know about. Like,
yeah.
his face was just like disgust. I'm like, so you're disgusted with yourself now because you're part black too?
Right. I mean, maybe he offed himself.
Maybe he was kicked out of his clan. I don't know.
The clan. Yeah. Do you think he'd get kicked even
Yeah,
even if
absolutely.
he was white? You think
Absolutely.
he'd
Oh,
get
yeah.
kicked out?
They
Yeah.
don't let black people in just because they say we believe in being under the white boot or some shit
Yeah.
like that, right?
Nah.
Now
yeah.
the Ku Klux Klan, their whole thing's changed. We just want everyone to be separate. We like everyone. Just if we stay separate, we're okay. That bullshit.
I don't know. I never had a problem
Muhammad
with
Ali went
race.
to a Ku Klux Klan rally.
Yeah.
Race has never been,
Segregation.
He
I
talked-
never
yeah, he talked about
made friends
segregation.
based on race, and I think today it's just crazy how much it's blown up unreasonably.
All right, let's take our quick break and
Alright.
maybe talk about JFK when we come back.
JFK
Yee.
died. It's a wiener.
Hi,
We're
guys.
back in
Back.
the game.
Let's go, Phil. Andale.
Andale, Phil. Okay.
I love Speedy Gonzalez.
So last
First
night,
taste of Mexican culture.
pretty late in the evening,
Late in the evening.
Your boy Donnie Trump
Donald Trump
dropping bombs on us,
released
and not the
I wouldn't
nuclear
be.
kind.
Oh, I was about to say if he did.
John the formerly classified files about
Of JFK,
John F.
goddammit.
Yeah, you
Kennedy's
take too long to say
assassination.
This is why his intro sucked.
Do you know why they were released?
Turns out it was because aliens.
I don't know why.
Because
You don't know why he decided to release
Hey,
them.
hey,
Why did he?
babe,
Why did he?
babe. Your name is Castro too.
I know. I'm gonna get to that.
Whoa.
So you don't, Zach. You don't know why they were released.
No, I just found out that they were.
You think
Can
Donald
you just
Trump?
tell us why they were released,
I'm
please?
trying to understand what Zach knows. Do
He
you
knows
think?
nothing.
Do you think Donald Trump just said, "I'm gonna release all this"?
Didn't he release information saying that they were going to come out?
Yes, but
Yeah,
there
yeah.
is a reason, a very legal reason.
Tell me
he
the
was
reason
supposed to.
already.
According to the 1992 JFK Assassination Records Collection, actually I said that wrong. The 1992 Assassination Record Collection on JFK Act that George H.W. Bush, the father, signed. These files were to be released no later than 25 years after he signed this act. 25 years later was yesterday.
Oh.
So, it was either they were released
Wait.
or there had to be proof among national security, CIA, and
You know how to
FBI
do the
that they releasing certain documents would be detrimental to the safety of the United States.
I think it's that
Otherwise, they were to be
Files
released.
theme song.
Yeah, okay.
So,
Files?
Yeah,
he-
files.
so it wasn't up to him. It was already decided 25 years ago
Oh, okay.
by HW.
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 The president? Is that
Yes.
the president?
The one that
George
did-
H.W. Bush.
Oh, I
Isn't that
I
the
thought you were
one-
saying HW as in someone with the initials.
No,
H.
no, no, no.
Okay.
George
No,
H.W.
I got you.
Bush.
His middle name's Herbert.
Ew.
Herbert Daring Dashwood.
Yeah.
Nobody knows who that's from.
Isn't that?
No, wasn't the father Bush the one that started the Iraqi war?
No, that was the son.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because that
Yeah.
was
George
that was
W.
after 9/11.
his retarded kid?
What about-
Right next to Jebediah.
Good old-
Jebediah.
You see that picture of Jeb winning the election, and it goes Hillary 0, Trump 0, and it's just Jeb. It's all the entire country is yellow, and it's Jeb in front of it going. Arms outspread.
Please
Clap. Yeah. That's
So
the same thing.
over 2,800 more records were released yesterday.
Yeah.
There have already been way more. I don't know how many files there are, but there have already been way more out since the late 90s. There is a a committee that went over after this was signed. Oh my God!
I fucking love that picture.
After this act was signed, they didn't finish their review of all these files. This committee, which is called, I'm not sure. Let me see. If I write it down. It's called. I didn't write it down, but the initials are ARRB, which is like the Assassination Review Records.
Bureaucracy.
They reviewed. It took them, after this was signed, it took them till 1998 to go through all these records. That's 6 years.
Damn.
They didn't finish completing, and after their completion, they released whatever they could based on what they knew. Okay. And then since then, they've probably gone over and they waited until the very last minute to the 25th anniversary to release the rest of them. But they withholded about 300 more documents with sensitive information based on national security concerns. And Trump gave them 180 days to re-review them, and it's likely that they will eventually be released.
Do they tell us anything? Do these documents tell us anything, or is it just more hogwash?
Well, they're still being looked through.
Okay.
Well, yeah, but
yeah, it's
like
a lot
news-
of documents.
News people are actually asking people to help.
right. Yeah, because you can't have
Am I
just like
getting paid
a
to
room
help?
full of people go through all these documents.
I think
If
so.
I am, then shit.
There's
I'm gonna
only
sit there
there's
and
only
read.
so
give it a
many
couple days, we'll
there's only
find
so
out.
many people that know everything about these documents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not the press. The
Okay,
press
so-
is all new.
Explain how you're related to.
Well, first let me go through the big findings
Okay,
that
go
they
through the
found.
big findings.
So the biggest findings that they found is the main one is how the CIA had
Collect your thoughts and then talk.
I am, which is why I was gonna keep going, but you interrupted me.
It sounded like you were having trouble. God, I'm just gonna stop talking to you then.
The CIA, well, JFK made it known that he wanted to take down Fidel Castro, and they had like a. Now I'm trying to collect my thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
They had the CIA kind of operations to go ahead and try to figure out how to take down Castro and his regime.
Yeah.
And in the files, it kind of stated 5 different options that they kind of came up with.
Yeah.
One were underwater exploding seashells. Yes, that is
sounds
true.
Fucking badass.
Another one was a poisoned bodysuit for diving.
That
because
sounds fucking badass.
it was
This
alleged
is an 007 movie now.
it was alleged that Fidel Castro had like a hobby of diving, So they came up with those ideas. A lone gunman, and it was they stated a very particular mob boss that they might have contacted.
Gotti?
No, some guy named Sam.
You're talking about the 1960s, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, Gotti was 80s.
Oh, okay.
some guy named Sam Glank. I don't know how to pronounce his last
Don't worry
name.
about it.
Sam G. Look it up, you'll find him.
Let me see.
150,000. I kind of can't read my own handwriting.
Oh, it'll be fine. I
100
can't read my own handwriting.
Like $150,000 hit for this guy.
Uh-huh.
$150,000 hit.
Sam
It's a lot of money at
Giolani?
that time.
Sam Giolani?
It is. I don't know.
And then Botulism pill?
I think it's called a botulism pill,
Botulism?
which is a
Is that
poisonous pill.
Okay. That sounds fucking
And-
badass.
What else is there?
Bounty for leaders, capture or death.
So yeah, basically either shoot him or the bounty, which is for the hit guy. So those are the 5 options that were found in these articles,
And,
and
they what? They went with bad pigs, right?
well, yeah, it was supposed to go on during that because.
Uh-huh.
But I read one of the one of the websites had the document for the pill one. Yeah. I read it, and there were supposed to be 2 sets of pills, kind of like the main one and the backup. So the CIA was supposed to give it to someone that they had connections with in Cuba. That guy was supposed to give it to somebody who had connection to the regime, and that guy was supposed to slip it into his drink. Well, the first guy got scared, so he gave it to another guy in the regime to do it because they were going to do it at one of his favorite restaurants. Well, he just so happened to stop going to that restaurant, So those pills were compromised. Like, you couldn't use those no more.
Didn't they also come up with exploding cigars?
That was
CIA
probably
did? Yeah, they
yeah,
came
maybe
up with them, right?
that probably I would imagine Cuba.
I think
You know.
they did, yeah.
So they went to go use the second set at a different restaurant. It didn't work.
Yeah.
So and they didn't even compromise the pills. Like, the pills were never even tried.
Yeah.
So those pills were eventually returned to the CIA.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that they tried to kill my uncle Fidel.
They did?
Yeah, they did. And it didn't work. He died of natural causes.
Is he really your uncle?
No. He is, though.
What if you are related?
I've always wanted to know.
Yeah, but Castro's actually not pretty common name, actually.
Yeah, I know. It's not.
Well, because
I
he was
doubt it.
fucking all these bitches, and he was like, "Yo, you're gonna take the name Castro." He's like, they like, if they don't want to fucking die.
Taking the Castro.
So that was one of the main points they found in the files.
Get castroated,
the
bitch.
the next one, another thing they pointed out was Lee Harvey Oswald had death threats. Death threats were made the night before his murder. Now, that's probably like common. You know, somebody shot the president. He was a very famous president. Yeah. Somebody that everybody liked. So of course there might be death threats. The FBI's office in Dallas received a call from a guy who said he was a part of a committee to kill this Lee Harvey Oswald, which committee multiple people. Now, Jack Ruby, the guy who shot Lee Harvey Oswald the next day, the mob guy, said he had he didn't call, he had no connections with anybody else. It was him. He didn't.
Wasn't he?
The CIA didn't contact him to kill this guy because some people said, well, the CIA contacted Jack Ruby to kill Lee Harvey Oswald, so Lee Harvey Oswald would not give his version of the story.
Yeah, well, I think that's
I think they found... Wasn't it that, like, Oswald had worked with the CIA before?
Well, Oswald had CIA connections because it was believed that the CIA had prior information on Oswald. They were watching him because he had lived in the Soviet Union for a while.
He married a Russian woman,
and he was trying to get visas or passports from Soviet Union or the USSR.
Yeah,
and they were tracking him before the assassination.
Hold on, sorry, I'm just watching the shooting of Oswald. I've never seen Oswald get shot.
Really?
I've never seen Oswald.
You've never seen that video?
I've seen Kennedy get capped. I've never seen Oswald get capped.
Really?
He's honestly has like the funniest face for when he gets shot. It looks like he just got like punched by his older brother. He's
it
like,
kind of, yeah, because it looks like he got punched in the gut.
Yeah, it's like a fucking idiot.
Holy fuck!
Fucking retard. You ever see that picture though of Lee Harvey Oswald? With a gun?
No.
It's a picture that they released out of him before he shot him. Before he shot JFK, and it looks really fucking weird because he's on a slant.
Whoops.
Wait up.
I don't get it.
Tower. Wait up.
I did see that picture actually.
See, it's just weird because he's like standing on a slant, and his head's like straight up. This is a weird picture.
What's up?
Oh. No, it's Lee Harvey Oswald. Yeah. And this is the rifle he allegedly...
Well, didn't they say that they disprove the bullet? Like, they said it was bullshit that he couldn't have made the shot?
Well, there was somebody who went to the spot, and you're not allowed to actually go to that spot. They have it...
Are you talking about the depository or the grass area?
No, the depository.
Okay.
You're not allowed to actually go there. They have it surrounded by velvet rope. Some guy went over the rope and then got sentenced to jail without a court.
Without trial.
Without trial.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is that about?
I don't know, but what was... Phil asked a question. I was going to totally answer it.
Didn't they prove, like, the bullet was bullshit with the shooting?
Now, allegedly, there was something about 3 bullets being shot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then there was the magic bullet that apparently killed Kennedy, but also hit the guy from Texas or the governor who's from Texas who was sitting in the front seat.
Because the bullet passed through Kennedy, right?
Yeah, and people were were alleging that it's not possible that one bullet could have hit both of them. So somebody was saying one bullet came from the depository, which was Lee Harvey Oswald. Another bullet came from that grass area off to the side and hit the governor guy.
Yeah.
And then because they were trying to disprove, saying that Lee Harvey Oswald couldn't have done this alone. He's not quick enough to shoot 3 bullets, which I think is a stupid argument. Like, I don't know. Was it ever said what kind of gun?
Well, it was the gun that was shown in that picture. It's like it's a Springfield rifle, maybe.
So
it's some old-fashioned rifle from the 60s.
Can you shoot 3 bullets really fast with that?
It's a bolt action.
Okay, so you could.
No.
No.
In the time span that he was shot with 3 bullets, no.
Okay, so that was...
You'd have to crank that fucker.
He would have to be like, oh, like
and your
that.
Shot gets off. And your shot gets off. You got to line up your shot. And he's trying to shoot a guy in a moving car.
And hitting with him with all 3 without a scope. Wait, did he have a scope?
I don't remember.
I actually don't
know.
So
there was 3 bullets, allegedly, and a lone gunman with this kind of rifle. Yeah. Does that make sense?
No.
That this could have happened with one guy. Okay. Now, also from these files, Oswald apparently knew a Cuban intel officer who described him as having a good shot. Now, that probably means nothing. Like, anybody could have... It depends on your version of a good shot. Yeah. But he's an intel officer, which means he probably has seen his fair share of good shots. So, I don't know what his good shot could have been.
I think we talked about
this. But still,
this.
I don't think whether he shot 3 times with this gun.
I think we talked about this, but if you did have a time machine and you only go to one point in time, would this be it?
Yeah, for me, yes. For me, yes. And I can pause and move like, totally. Basically like pause and move everything around.
I mean, how many people in America do you think that would be theirs? Do you think more?
I think 50%? Close to 50%. Maybe, okay, so... Maybe not today, because a lot of people today might not care about...
You really don't think so?
I mean, younger than us is what I should say. People born after us.
Okay, no, I get what you're saying.
Because even 9/11 for people born after us isn't as big as it is for us, even though we still, we're kind of, not around for it because we were only, 3, 4.
I know this is kind of going off base. This is 9/11, but somebody, I don't know if it was an article or just, some video I watched, but somebody was making the argument, oh, hey... you ever seen those videos where it's the planes didn't really ever hit, it was just CGI, and they show they show the planes inside the building, but there's nothing happening.
Right.
It looks like a CGI glitch or something like that. Mm-hmm. But somebody was saying a lot of these clips that they were showing weren't on the news. They were the next day. And they were saying, well, what if that was actually made by the news just to get people to say we have footage of it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a possibility that maybe news stations were made it? Not saying they were in on it, but to have a story that people would want to watch on their channel.
Maybe, but the problem I have with that argument is how can all networks be in on this and we just nobody gets the clue about it doesn't leak. You're saying news
it'd be very quiet product. They can just hire on somebody to do it and get the footage sent in.
I don't know.
That's a bit
it seems far fetched.
Yeah.
It just seems far fetched.
It's an interesting theory though.
It is, but it's only interesting because of how far fetched it is.
But you gotta wonder where those videos came from.
Stop talking so we can hear a theory.
What if that's not it? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's for...
So what you're saying, they CGI'd, the crash?
Well, yeah. Well, because there's those videos that they show it.
But what about that documentary person who was filming the fire department and filmed the plane hitting the building? You think he was in on it too?
No. That's not the whole point of the theory.
What's the point of
the whole point of the theory? That the 2 planes did hit.
Oh.
But the news stations, they didn't have that footage. They made the footage. They took
If
what was
your
already
mama
there.
don't
But here's the
stop
thing.
dinging you.
The footage lines up perfectly with the way the planes hit. That wouldn't happen perfect in a perfect world. You'd have
wait,
people.
but
does
I
that
don't.
mean?
I don't understand how this theory works. It like what type of videos are the news networks making?
It must have been a really fast process to make
No.
these videos.
Well,
What video
See,
did
the
they?
whole
What
point-
video are they making?
the whole point of this theory, that like I said, here, let me see if I can try to find the article.
Because
But the
I'm
whole
just
point.
I'm just trying to figure out how you're saying the planes hit, but the news networks are making footage of the planes hitting. Why are they making footage?
So people can watch that for content, so they can go to that news station instead of everybody else. Because at that time, barely anybody had any footage of the actual planes hitting. It was mainly just people seeing the explosion
Okay.
or just seeing the building.
I
So
see what you're saying.
if they actually have footage of the plane actually hitting the building, I think the whole point of the theory is that the news stations created those videos to show a plane actually hitting it, to line up with an explosion, to be like, hey, we have footage of it happening.
What about the footage that you can find on YouTube of the news networks, like
Well, yeah,
the day of, and they're like,
but all of those
There's
ones
the
are from
one-
far away.
There's that one.
They're from
okay,
really
there's
far
the
away.
one- there's
which
that-
ones are you talking about then?
Well, the ones where they literally show it happening.
There's one where there's one video from like BBC.
But those are all those cameras.
Not all of them are fake.
No, just listen. Those all news stations have a camera pointing at the skyline of the city,
Yeah.
and they're always recording.
Yeah, but that's not the ones that I'm talking about, because those ones they all had footage of. I'm talking about up close.
Pull one up that you're talking about, because I'm not really following
Yeah.
the footage that you're talking about.
There's the one thing that people were saying when it was a conspiracy. There was the BBC footage, and they were talking about like Tower 7 went down, but Tower 7 was standing behind them.
I don't know about that one.
There was something that there's people saying that's a conspiracy because like they were saying Tower 7 fell, but Tower 7 is behind the anchor in New York.
Yeah,
At the time.
well, BBC. I don't really like BBC because
I don't like them either.
they're an
fucking-
international news station,
they're
so
fucking
maybe they just
stupid.
had no idea what was going
They're
on.
fucking retards.
We use that word very frequently.
So you're saying that,
We're
on.
identifying the word.
Oh, there you go. What I'm talking about?
Okay, so it came in from the other side. Are you saying? What are you saying about not seeing the plane?
Hold on.
Because to me,
Ooh, I
that
wanna see
camera,
this one.
that camera to me is still one of their skyline cameras zoomed in.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying though. There's other views.
I'd like to see these other views.
Hold on. Well, I got a fucking video that says 18 different views.
All right, let me see these 18 different views.
Hold on.
And now, when I watch that video, and you're saying it looks fake because there's a delay, but that's because, when a plane hits something, it's all the reactions. It's like boom, and then it makes more reactions, so it's
Yeah.
boom. It's like
Here's my thing.
when an engine blows up,
They also
it
talk
causes
about
even more to blow up, but that's a delay.
they also talk about the Pentagon and like how they don't think a plane hit the Pentagon
Oh, this-
because they
this
didn't
one
like
I
find
know
any
about.
pieces of the goddamn thing.
Yeah, this is the video that I was talking about with
Yeah,
the
let me see.
documentarian. Now, that is crazy.
Let me see.
That is crazy.
They didn't release this one until recently. This came out I think 2012.
Yeah,
This was recent.
I watched this documentary.
Look at that.
It's just
That's
crazy how
crazy.
like you think
It's really
here's the thing,
good.
You think it looks fake, but we don't know
Yeah.
how it looks.
Like there was a there was two brothers
Yeah.
that were
They were documenting the firemen and wasn't it the ambulances?
well, I thought they were just documenting the entire like unit of the NYFD.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought too. Yeah.
So I think they were just following a certain unit because of course there's multiple units throughout New York. So I thought they were following a certain unit, and then all of a sudden this happened, which is
Oh, wait a minute. I didn't even think about this. Play at like 25 speed.
Play it. Yeah, I want to see.
what is 20? Oh, slow it down.
Yeah.
All right, let's watch. So we paused for a quick second to watch a whole bunch of clips, and like I was explaining why angles that were like in front of like the plane hit from behind the building according to this angle, and why it looked weird that the explosion was coming out from in front. But that's, I told you that's just because of the reaction of explosion based on when the fuel gets to the part where it's going to react to something that it doesn't want to react with, that will make something explode, because the trajectory of the plane going in, if it didn't come out, it's going to stop like right. It stopped right in the front of the opposite side of the building where it came in.
Yeah.
Which makes it blow up on that angle.
It's pretty crazy, though.
It is pretty crazy.
It's
But
fucking nuts.
the conspiracy that news networks created it, I don't think I believe that.
Well, it was just one that I read. I thought it was interesting. If I can
Well,
find
yeah.
an article, I'll send it to you.
You know, there's a theory out there by this like historian. He says that the actual years like 1789 and the whole Middle Ages was made up.
The Middle Ages?
Yeah, he said the Middle Ages did not exist. Like Charlemagne and all them did not exist. That there was like a conspiracy between like the two emperors of the time, and the Pope.
Wow.
Fuck up the calendar. It's completely horseshit though, because it's like, okay, the Middle Ages didn't happen. Well, where the fuck did everything else go?
Exactly.
Like people are like, some people believe it, and I thought he's like, yeah, it's a funny theory, but the thing is, it doesn't make sense, because it's like there was still shit going on in like America at this time that we have records of around the time. Like it doesn't make sense that these people, that three dudes, like two emperors and the Pope Leo X or some shit like that, made up 300 years worth of fucking history on their own. Like they couldn't have done that.
One last thing that I wanted to bring up. It'll be the last thing we talk about. I want to bring up about the JFK files that I didn't know about. But I think it might have been, I don't know if it was released through these files or it was kind of hidden behind a bunch of stuff. But the Cambridge News out of the UK, a reporter who worked for them was given a call 25 minutes before the assassination, and the call was from an anonymous person that said, let the American embassy in London know about the big news.
Okay.
And that's where it ended. And they did the calculations later, and they figured out 25 minutes later JFK was assassinated.
What the fuck?
Whoa.
And it wasn't reported to this call wasn't reported to the Cambridge police until after the assassination. So after the assassination happened, they were like, okay, well, now we got to report this.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, of course, if you get anonymous people might call in and do stupid tips. This one's pretty broad, just to be said.
Yeah.
Let the American embassy know about the big news. Well, what does that mean?
Yeah.
So, of course, it's not really like, but all the headlines that
Also, why the fuck does this, like, we talk about this shit, why the fuck do they make it this vague ass shit if it's going to be anonymous? Like, why don't they just say, hey, the American president's going to get
it's
capped?
just like,
Like, what the fuck are you doing?
It's just like the psychopath being like, haha, I know.
So they think
and
Oswald called him?
No, the guy who discovered this finding in documents.
Yeah.
He said it was some Soviet agent.
Holy shit.
He was like very emphatic that he believed that it was a Soviet agent.
Yeah.
That made this call.
Wow.
It was never proven.
Yeah.
He later died. The guy who was emphatic about it later died. But the guy who found it, I guess, was a very, like, he studied the assassination from, like, front to back.
Yeah.
He knows everything about it. And he was emphatic.
Well, he doesn't know everything.
Well, he knows what there is to know at the time. But that's what I'll leave everybody with. The Cambridge News knew everything and said nothing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Probably
Yeah.
going to do conspiracies next time.
Next time. Maybe I have a conspiracy that maybe there won't be a next time. Maybe there was never a time.
Yeah.
Stop.
Maybe this is the last
Stop.
podcast.
See, that's
and
what
people just don't
that's
know
what
it
I
yet.
fucking I talked about
You
this all the
guys try
time.
too hard.
Time doesn't exist.
Time doesn't exist.
Time does not
Okay,
exist.
so then explain why we age if time doesn't exist.
We don't exist. This is all a pigment of her imagination.
Are we doing the Matrix right now?
We're a
Yeah.
video game. We
Yeah.
are a simulation. We're not a video game because that doesn't exist either. We're just a simulation of something like
Yeah.
the thought of a video game that somebody else is controlling us from.
And then that person that's controlling us doesn't exist either.
No, they're being controlled by
Something else.
something
Okay,
else that doesn't
goodbye.
exist.
Goodbye. Bye.
Thanks for listening.
Little brown girl out.
Bye, Ma.